So I want to take you back about 30 years ago. And my parents had discovered something called natural hygiene. And I had discovered macrobiotic. And I was eating all cooked foods, and they were going to classes about eating raw foods. And I was like, isn't this interesting? And we were all getting healthier at the same time, but eating opposite ways. Long story short, I ended up connecting with the main teacher of macrobiotics, who was Michio Kushi, and I used to sit in on his consultations and be sort of like his apprentice. And I would take notes and have clients of my own, and I was younger then. I was in my 20s, and I thought, this has got to be the most interesting thing happening on the planet. That I'm sitting here I'm usually a casual dresser outside of being on stage. So I'm sitting here, and I would do my consultations like in jeans, and I'd be like, this has got to be the most interesting thing, that I'm sitting here in jeans and telling people how to get well, and it's working, and they're coming to see me after seeing the best doctors in the world and not getting answers. And this was especially fascinating because my father, although he's not a doctor, worked with doctors. So a lot of people I knew, or people I just knew and respected medical profession tremendously. And I'm helping people get well. I think this is nuts. Like, how is this even happening? But even a bigger question was, how is this happening and nobody knows it's happening? And it took me years to understand what it was that was happening, and that what was, from my opinion, what was working wasn't actually the macrobiotic diet. It wasn't putting people on brown rice. A lot of it was getting them off of what they were eating. It kind of didn't matter what they were eating instead. What mattered was that they got off the SAD, standard American diet, and started eating something different. And that they became involved in cooking, whatever it was that they were cooking. And that they got involved with caring about themselves and their family and their food. And so that led to really decades of trying to figure out, well, what should people be eating? And going through all this high fat, low fat, high carb, low carb, and seeing that most people, pretty much everyone, is really into whatever is the dietary theory that they're teaching. Right? You know what I'm talking about? And to be able to find a neutral place, to be kind of like Switzerland, where in my heart of hearts, I don't really think there is a right way of eating. What I know to be true is that human beings, just as much as other mammals, can figure out what to eat on their own, given half a chance. Every minute of every day, millions of dollars are spent to sway people to eat foods that they would never normally dream of eating. They're not actually foods. They look like food. They taste like food. It's not actually food, though. But that process is very successful. And it is really altering the human DNA. The genetic system of human beings is altering as we speak, because you can see from, say, my parents' generation to mine to the younger generation, human beings are altering in how we are and who, and basic composition of what it means to be a human evolved over millions of years by carefully selecting foods that were seasonal and that were fitting for human development, but that all can deteriorate and break down human DNA very rapidly when what we're eating isn't food that's really fit for human consumption. It's like putting the wrong fuel in your car. It doesn't take long for your car to break down. It doesn't take long for human DNA to break down. So I'm sharing all of this with you because I want to get us all into the same place. So one thing to understand is that we're not doctors. I'm not a doctor, you're not a doctor, there are doctors here, but that's not the purpose of the curriculum. The purpose of the curriculum is really to understand this evolving profession called health coaching, which I pretty much, I think, started from having watched Michio Kushi and evolving from there into having a one-on-one client and meeting with them for an hour, into a 6-month program where the human being heals themselves by themselves through their own speaking and through high mileage questions and through the basic principles of primary food and bioindividuality. It's like magic. It's really like magic. For those of you who've had clients, it's like, what? You know, like I knew this would work, but I never thought it would work so easily. And so when I started doing health coaching, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, this is nuts. I have to find, the hardest part isn't getting people well, the hardest part was finding clients. So I would find clients, and I was you. I would start with charging almost nothing, and then as I gained confidence, I would charge more. And as I gained confidence, I charged more. And then it wasn't really about money for me ever. It was more about finding the clients who I most wanted to work with. So I learned that we had to go into it slowly. And the first thing I ask people, and I recommend you ask people, is what do you know you should be doing that you're not already doing? It makes my job so easy. And they'll name 3 things. Boom, the session is over. Done. They come back. Did you do them? Well, I only did these 2. Okay, well, what else do you know you should be doing? This is way easier than you would ever imagine. The hard part, finding clients. That's why we teach marketing and sales and how to get clients. But the easy part is once you have your client, it's not as hard as you think. After you've gone through what do you know you should be doing, and you give them the encouragement to do that, you start to drill down in primary food circle of life. What's happening? Where are you stressed? What's going well? And you don't have to be a marriage counselor or a personal exercise trainer or a career guidance or a priest to help them with those elements, because you have this tool in your back pocket called what? High mileage questions. So you can just kick back and be like, how's your relationship going? What's going well and what could go better? In the area of exercise, how are you doing? And you give them the encouragement, you hold their hand to help them come back. The luxury of the 6-month program is you're not trying to hope and pray that they come back for another session with you, because they're locked in for 6 months. And so it takes 6 months to be able to create change in a human being. And you can move through at the pace that is fitting for them, and they come up with the answers because the biocomputer wants to be healthy. The same way as, do you all have plants? And you know how the plant always wants to lean towards the sun? Well, all species want to be healthy, want to be alive. Given half a chance, we will do that by ourselves. So as we provide, let's call it oxygen, to the client to be able to love themselves more than their job, more than their partner. Just love, just for today, love yourself more than anyone.